Greetings, Dapplings, and welcome back to another episode of Captain of Industry. A little later than expected. So, to start things off, I want to say thank you to everyone who reached out to check in on me over the last few days. As some of you now know, following my stream on Wednesday, I was left with a hoarse voice, a rather nothing reason for not being able to work, as I felt completely fine in every other way, but when your job is talking for several hours a day, not being able to speak properly leaves one in a bit of a tricky situation. But there was a small silver lining though. Due to being unable to record the video until later, it meant more people were able to get into the running for this video's game key. And on that note, congratulations to G Tier 3G. Hopefully you'll enjoy the game as much playing it as you do watching the series. Now, as I'm sure you're all aware by now, I will be selecting a random comment on this video in about a day to receive the final of the initial 3 game keys I had to give away, and I'll be announcing the winner in the next video, which will hopefully suffer no delays this time. However, the astute amongst you will notice I said initial 3 game keys, and that's because the devs have reached out again. Still bowled over by the positivity and the excitement for the game, they've given me not 3 this time, but another 10 game keys to give away. This time, during a live stream that will take place tomorrow. Sorry, I'm still a little bit hoarse, so you'll have to forgive me. Sunday, the 3rd of October is when we're going to be streaming over on my Twitch channel. So be sure to check out the video description below for a link to my Twitch, and either drop me a follow or keep your eyes on Twitter, Discord, or here on the community page for my going live notification. As we have a lot of keys to give away, and given my streams tend to run on the long side, I'll likely be crossing several time zones throughout the day, so it shouldn't be hard to catch me live. But with that, let's get back to the game. Okay, now in the last episode, we managed to lay down the foundations for our crude oil delivery. Now, I received a couple of messages in the comments suggesting more efficient layouts, specifically with regards to the fuel storage, and how it does seem to imply that you could just build these straight off from the fluid modules. You can absolutely build them off the fluid modules, and that is a really good way of very quickly emptying out a cargo ship and making it ready for more work, which becomes important later on when you've got multiple oil rigs that need to be serviced. However, as I briefly touched on, we are shaping this area for a future dock. Now, the reason why I want to do that is simply that this area I've kind of already earmarked for a chemistry industry area, so I'd rather not be accepting deliveries, because adding extra storage is going to take up a lot of space, and this is kind of already in the way of my expandability for our diesel production. But also there are other chemical processes that we're going to want to add in here. Notably, we're going to want to move across the wastewater filtration and recycling setup as well. The other thing that was pointed out is we are definitely bottlenecked on our production of construction parts 2, which is rather unfortunate because we very desperately need to expand out our energy production, and that's going to require construction parts 2. So, we've got quite a few jobs ahead of us. This is the main focus of today's episode. I want to greatly expand our energy production, but additionally, we are going to want to expand out our production of construction parts. That's just going to be good practice moving forward regardless. Though, there are a couple of things that I'm noticing. One, we're very short on workers, so how about we increase growth boost so we're actually generating some more pops organically. Speaking of organics, we're going to cut back on the organic food that we're giving our population, or at least the amount of it. We are definitely not in the best position for that. I would like to upgrade our last farm, but obviously we are also dealing with a shortage. Now, there was one other thing that I just noticed, and that was this. Well. Let's turn off imports. I'm going to wait for that copper to all be processed, so that we can, at long last, get rid of all of that. My goodness, how long has that been set? Well, since last episode, I suppose. But I should have really set up something to deal with all of that impure copper as soon as I'd finished this setup here, because right now we're making impure copper and we're not going to use it anyway. So let's set something up that will accept the impure copper deliveries. Let's just keep that full. They should bring over the copper as quickly as they can. Then we can just dump all of that into the copper electrolysis and get a couple more copper plates besides. Now, with regards to our construction parts, let's have a look at the formula and just decide how expandable we can make this. Because much like the diesel cracking, there is kind of a chain from one to the next, and it ends up with the product at the end. And by and large, I found that this game, whether by design or just luck, is very, very neat in that way. A lot of things fit together in a very comfortable way, a very satisfying way. So let's have a look. Currently, we are making the regular construction parts in the assembly manual, so it's unpowered, and it produces 4 of these every 30 seconds normally. With the booster, of course, it's every 15. The assembly electric can produce a construction part 2 from 8 construction parts every 40 seconds. So there's a mismatch there. However, we can make the construction part in the electric assembly. And if we do that, we will make 4 every 20 seconds, which fits very neatly, again, into the 8 that we need every 40. So if we have going from one electric assembly to the next, then we will produce those construction parts very, very quickly, which would be ideal for us. How much concrete do we need, though? We need 4 every 40 seconds, and we produce 8 every 40 seconds for the use of 9 sand and 3 water. This is a good candidate for condensing down materials. So one concrete mixer can supply 2 electric assemblies, which each one would need to be supplied by another electric assembly. That's very, very modular. We should be able to design something around this. Now, are we going to expand this area down here to have that construction? No. No, I don't think this is a good place. This is kind of a legacy area, and I would like to move that away. However, if we look over here, there is a very good candidacy to just move wholesale the whole production process over here. However, space is the only thing that it fails of here. Because there's going to be a lot more that we're going to need to expand into iron and copper production, I imagine. That being said, concrete mixing would be ideal over here because much like we've moved iron smelting and copper smelting closer to where we're mining the raw materials, concrete mixing closer to where we're digging the sand would just make sense. Also, it has a water table, a groundwater deposit, well, I guess a water table, that we would be able to tap into. And we're not actually using this one yet. Everything else is pulling from this groundwater table. Now, these do replenish themselves during rains. So it might be nicer to split up all of the pumps that we've got so they're not all tapping the same location. I think there is a very good reason to move the concrete mixing itself over here. So let's go ahead and clear out these trees and make room for that. Now, as for the rest of it, I am actually feeling that we might want to move it over here. Now, that kind of flies in the face of my original plan to expand out the city in this direction. But we can always expand the city backwards by filling in the ground over here and building over the top of that. So I think, yes, I think that would actually be the best place for us to go. I can already see that we are manufacturing more copper plate. That is fantastic. How are things going down here? Have we processed everything? It looks like we have. Okay, well, that's actually remarkably good because that means that we can go ahead and strip all of this down. There we go. Now, that's going to give our trucks an awful lot of work to do for a while, but let's get that done and out of the way now, I think. There we go. And honestly, at this point, I could just set this up to be deconstructed, even if there's things in it, which there are a little bit, but they will be moved over to the shipyard and then we can just move them from there. That does make a little bit more room down here for us. But let's go ahead and start considering how we're going to set up our construction of components over here. Now, it's going to ruin the view. I appreciate that, and I am sorry for it. Nevertheless, I feel that this is the right step for us to go in for the sake of progress. That it's always progress. Blame progress. There we go. Now we're going to want the assembly electrics. Probably, I'm going to say... Now there are certain concerns with this because ultimately I want to have the belts going up and over. So let's just see how quickly can a belt descend from a second level. Let's see. I'd like to break off by drawing one to the side rather than just taking the corner and already be descending, because it creates a bank that you can't attach to in the future. And I want to plan for expandability. So from here, how much room do I need? Only 2 tiles, so 3 tiles in total from the belt. Okay, that's actually brilliant to know. So in that case, we can afford to build this very, very close, which does, again, add to the ability for us to build in an expandable way. With that said, I'm going to leave a little bit of room. In fact, I think perhaps a good measuring stick will be to build it like this. Just build it 1 factory's width away. That seems to be about 6 tiles. Let me just double check that. So from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It looks like I was bang on the money there. Fantastic. Right, as for the other assembly plant, let's pop that there, and let's set both of these to make regular construction parts. There we go. All right, with that done, let's lay down the flat transports. We want 1, 2, 3. Okay, perfect. 1, 2. So that'll be a third. There we go. So we want this to travel along here, and I think we'll have the lower level go all the way, and that way the upper level doesn't need to travel quite as far. So 1, 2. There we go. Perfect. And we'll bring this all the way down. And just to demonstrate what I meant about stepping forward 1 space, if I went straight down, oh, actually, it looks like it automatically brings it forward by 1. That's a change, and a very welcome one. I am aware that the devs have been working on the way that everything connects, and it has actually seemed to already start bearing fruit. That's perfect. Okay, so there we go. That all runs together. Now, ultimately, I would actually like to expand this, so should we plan around further expansion? Well, let's just replicate what we've got currently, and then I can very easily add more to it. Now, we've got power generation 3. That means we've got the low pressure turbine available to us. However, do we really have it available to us? No. And that is for the same reason that we could research power generation 2 before we had researched construction materials 2, which they need to be built. Because I guess over here it makes sense, because you can only research this once you've got the research lab 2, and that requires construction parts 2. But there's no such thing gating the research of power generation 3 over here. So really, that should be a requisite for construction 3. Now this one is going to need construction parts 2 and copper. And it will need 80 seconds for that. So we can probably already lay down the groundwork for expanding into that straight away. And I really like the idea of that. Everything in this game seems to fit together really, really conveniently in a very comfortable and satisfying way. So I have got a great deal of expectation, whether it is going to turn out this way or not, that we're probably going to see a similar pattern where construction parts 3 are fed into construction parts 4. If there is indeed a construction parts 4, and I do believe there is, if we have a look, I believe it is purple. Yes, there we go. What are you actually made of? Indeed you are. You're made of construction parts 3 and electronics. So we're probably going to see this pattern repeating further down. And each time we do, we'll probably upgrade all of the prerequisite, or rather all of the preceding factories with the next tier of factory as soon as we're able. Now, we've got an incredibly long queue. We've got an awful lot of things to do. I have queued up 5 new trucks to be made because, honestly, most of our smelting operations have ground to a standstill because we're not moving the slag. We've got loads of places to dump the slag, it's just we don't have trucks available to dump it, which is an enormous problem. Now, it doesn't help that I keep giving them new jobs to do, so I'm going to pass a little bit of time and allow them to clear up the backlogged work, and I shall bring you back when we're ready to progress with the next stage, which will hopefully be construction of our new generator assemblies. All right then, as you can see, we have finished the construction of our new construction part manufacturing facility. I've also, in your absence, upgraded these transport pipes to pipe 2s. In fact, quite a lot of them, because we are now dealing with sufficient quantity of water that it's actually starting to slow down the ability for us to extract the water out of these, which means that during particularly long periods of rain, we're actually losing efficiency on these. They're not able to store any more water, so the water is lost while we're waiting to move it down these pipes into the storages. Now, I've only upgraded one side because we are going to be getting rid of this as soon as we move the concrete mixer away. And on the note of moving the concrete mixer away, I have added some extra storage for trees, because my lord, is it taking a while to get through all of these. In fact, I'm going to have to add another few to this. I love the fact that we can do this, though. It's actually incredibly satisfying, again, to have a massive long log storage. Right, we've completed construction 3. That is fantastic. Now we can have a look at what comes next. Now we've got a couple of options here. We can go straight for steel smelting, or we can get the assembly electric 2 rather, which will allow us to create construction parts in 10 seconds, the construction 2s in 20, and the construction 3s in 40. Now that is very tempting, I'm not going to lie. That said, however, we've got the cooling tower. Improves the water efficiency of a power plant by recovering some steam back to water. So for 8 depleted steam, we'd be able to cool that down into water and feed it back into the system again. This would make our energy generation that much more efficient, and I would love to have that. Now, that isn't going to be required for us to design the new the turbine assembly or generator assembly. Right, let's get these on the go and unpaused. There we go, and we should see that we've already got a bit of a backlog there, which is fantastic. I want this to be emptied. There we go. I don't want anything imported, though. There we are. That should all be correctly set up. That is fantastic. Okay, now these, again, they're going to be slow to make, which does suck a little bit, but oh well, it's just something we're going to have to live with for now. What I'm going to be doing down here is, once we've removed this water, I'm actually thinking of repositioning this groundwater pump. Specifically, I would like to expand out the storage capacity for extra water there, and then have the groundwater pumps down here, and then feed up, again, giving priority to the water that's coming from the rainwater collectors. This way, I feel that at this point, we desperately need the water in the farms, at least as much as we need power. So I think we're going to remove it from purely available to the energy generation, especially if we can reclaim some of that depleted steam as water. It will reduce the demand on this system, and again, we're actually going to have to set that up so that it gives it priority. Now, let's have a think of how we're going to design our power systems moving forward. I'm kind of thinking that we might want to set it up down here. There is so much that I want to do in regards to these pipes. At this point, I kind of want to lay the pipes on the ground and have ramps going over them. That might be something that we could do in the near future rather than waiting too long. But for now, let's have a look at what we can do with power, because there's a lot more fancy stuff you can do. So a low-pressure turbine requires 80 very expensive construction parts. Now, I happen to know that this requires 8 low-pressure steam to operate. And basically, for that amount of steam, you get the same output as one high-pressure turbine, which only requires 4 high-pressure steam and outputs 4 low-pressure steam. So for 2 turbines, you get to run a 3rd turbine for free. But you don't need them all to be in parallel. You can have them running in sequence, and that's exactly what I would like to do. We would want a boiler to start with, probably somewhere down here. Let's set all of this up. We could have, well, actually, the stack would probably grow quite long in that direction. We could instead have it going up in this direction. I think that might work. That being said, if I want to run it off this, that might be a little bit of a trouble. So You know what? Let's build on the system that we've already got available over here. So we'd probably have something along these lines. We'll build it just off to the side here, in line ideally. So we'll place this one here, and then what we'll likely do is we'll decommission this and rebuild it as we go. Next, I would like 2 regular turbines. One. Well, we're going to want the steam to come in from the side. Still, the steam pipe can go up and around. That shouldn't be an issue. So I can place it about here without any particular problem. And then another one going straight into it. Then finally, the low pressure turbine, which will accept the steam from the opposite side. Again, whether by intention or just good luck, everything fits together so well. Now, each one of these turbines will output enough power to run 2 generators. That being said, though, I still want a flywheel. The flywheels, there is a maximum amount of energy that can be in the shaft. I think 2 flywheels is a good position because I want some buffer for the generators to be efficient. Basically, I want the low pressure turbine to be running all the time. I never want that to shut off, because if that shut off, it stops accepting the low pressure steam, which means these jam up and can't do their work anymore. So I do want a little bit of extra headroom for us not to waste that power. But at that point, we would then have 2 for each turbine that we've built. There we go. So we would end up with an incredibly large stack for our power. Now, each one of these would run off a single boiler. So we would set up the pipes along these lines. Let's get that up there. There we go. And then along the side here. And we'll just have these run all the way down, connect up at each point. And exactly the same on this side. Come out by a little bit, move. Oh, well, actually, let's come out a little bit more than that. There we go. And then connect up. Now, at this point, eventually, we'll do something really snazzy with this. But for now, we'll just hook that up. Eventually, I want several lengths of these turbines set up down here. I think that would be absolutely ideal. That being said, perhaps I could reposition her over here. But the problem over here is that, honestly, that length there would run straight over the coal. And I'm slowly but surely moving things away from here so that I can get to all of the coal in the future, so we're not wasting it. But still, this is going to make navigating this area a little bit tricky for our colonists, I'm going to be honest. But the other thing we could do, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't. And I know it doesn't. But I also know it's going to look better. And the rule of cool is king in my Let's Plays. And so we're going to do that. We're going to have, and many of you can probably already tell exactly what I intend to do. We're going to use the flywheels as bookends for the generators. That actually looks so much better. Come on. You've got to admit it. That looks glorious. Okay, but what doesn't look glorious is the amount of work there's going to be to set all of this up. Our trucks are going to be busy for quite some time. Thankfully, there's only one thing that requires construction 3. So that shouldn't be the worst part, thankfully. Right, let's hook you up right down there. And unfortunately, over here, it's going to be a little bit more of a problem. What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go up and around. So let's move up, and then over, and then down. This isn't the best setup, by far, but it will work, and I'll be happy to have all of that set up. And once this is built, we will strip all of this down. Now, in order of priority, we're going to work on the turbines first. Get all of those going, and, of course, the piping. Then once we've got all of that done, we'll start working on the actual generators. The boiler will ideally be the last thing we build, as that is the least useful until everything else is constructed. I will, however, get the piping and the conveyors ready. Oh my lord, my poor trucks are going to be so incredibly busy for the next forever, actually. Though, The amount of time it'll take them to get all of this built may actually give us enough time to get the water recovery tower set up. And if I could have that up and running before any of this is complete, we could see how big this structure is going to be. I have no idea how large the water recovery tower is going to be. Ideally, it would be small enough that I could fit it somewhere around here, or maybe over here. Maybe we could have the water recovery tower. If we have a couple of these in line like that, and then a splitter, we can have the water recovery tower input on one side, specific, so that it will prioritize accepting that input. The output won't matter, but if I could prioritize the input, then we could accept from the water recovery tower before anything else. Yeah, I think that would actually be a really, really good setup. Now, how are things going over here? Well, actually, they're not going too bad. They're not going too bad. Yeah, everything's on the move. Of course, it's going to take a little bit of time for the backlog over here to fill up. Now, when that happens, everything will start running much, much more smoothly. I could, of course, add in an extra couple of factories going down just to allow the backlog to fill up a bit faster and then build the third. But honestly, that will always be a problem moving forward. Ooh, where our Unity is in a bit of an interesting place. Right, pop growth. Let's slow that one down a little bit. And we'll pop back in fuel saver and maintenance reducer. How are we doing for food? We're doing okay, but water is now becoming a bit of a concern. That is unpleasant, to say the very, very least. Okay, well, I think maybe then what we'll do is we will go ahead and we'll place down the groundwater pumps. And since I know where I'm going to place them, let's go with 2. We'll go straight down with 2. And we will use pipe 2s to accommodate the fairly substantial flow that these are going to have. There we are. And we'll hook it up over there. That should be fine. Now, that's obviously going to be pulling a little bit of extra power for us. At this point, though, since we are now going to be pumping that water direct, we could probably afford to take this one away. I'll wait for these to be built, though. I will prioritize them. They are going to take, again, a lot of our construction parts, and this is going to be a recurring theme for the next little while for our colony, so I'm going to save you the time, and you won't have to watch all that. But before I let you go for a few moments, let's go ahead and set up some more explorations. If we just encounter pirates, I won't bother bringing you back for that, but if we discover anything particularly interesting, I may well cut the break short. But I shall see you very soon. And welcome back just in time for the low-pressure turbine to finish construction. The regular turbines the high-pressure turbines are starting to spin up. They are dumping their low-pressure steam into the exhaust pipe. The low-pressure steam is being fed into the low-pressure turbine, and all 3 of them are working together. Now, of course, there's going to be a little bit of a skip here and there, but let's get these to auto balance. And this one, very specifically, once again, is never going to auto balance. It will just run as long as it's got steam, because we do not want that to struggle. Let's see. High pressure turbine needs transport. Ah, right. We are dumping too much steam into these pipes. Of course, I should have considered that. Let me get those upgraded as quickly as possible. We may even need to upgrade these pipes to be able to take the requisite steam. That is quite a possibility. Let's go ahead and get all of those upgraded. But you can already start to see the turbines are spinning. At the very least, we are currently upgrading or rather, currently putting power into the flywheels. And all of these turbines are starting to spin. Now, of course, we are just about to drop below the max output threshold that we need to actually get anything done, which is a bit of a problem. Do we have materials on the way? Hopefully, yes. But you'll notice that quite a few other things have changed as well. Most notably, something that I didn't really discuss, but I've decided to move our fuel lines over here. We've now got 2 fueling stations, each with 1 truck assigned to it. I could have had 2 trucks assigned to one fuel station, but I decided that I wanted more ready fuel for my other trucks to come and pick up. So this way, this is more usable for the trucks themselves rather than specifically for the excavators. Now, we've already upgraded 1, 2 of the pipes, 3 of the pipes. We are slowly getting there. Actually, that one is probably the only one that really needed to be upgraded so that the steam moving through here could then split down here. It's something that I've done over here as well. I didn't upgrade the last pipe here and this one because there just wasn't a need. This pipe here is only servicing a single rainwater collector, and technically so is this one. This one, though, will be servicing 2. It's still probably not actually needed, but still I'm glad to have done it. We've got 1 more pipe that needs to be upgraded. Let's have a look at you. How are we doing over here? You're not able to get that steam out fast enough. That is a problem, if I'm honest. This can move 3 steam at a time, it seems. So we may need to adjust our expectations with that. That is a very interesting scenario. This one is producing 8 steam, but of course this one is requiring 4 steam every 10 seconds. I would have said that would have been fine because this, even a regular pipe, should be able to move 10 steam every 10 seconds, but this is an interesting one. Needs an output for the low steam. This one doesn't have an output. Let's have a look. Depleted steam is being used. What's the problem here? Is it purely that it can't get full output? Okay, so it is the problem of the smokestack. All right, well, that's fine. I should have possibly read this rather than assuming I knew what the problem was. That being said, we do have water recovery. Also, this is apparently a problem. I dislike that. We're going to drop a boost over here. We've got plenty of unity at the moment. Right, let's have a quick look at the water recovery option. And before we do that, though, let's go ahead and set up the next item on our list. Probably going to be thermal desalination. If we can take seawater and turn it into water, it's going to remove our dependency on groundwater and rainwater collectors, and they actually take up quite a lot of room, so I think this would be a reasonable thing to go for. So let's actually start the research down there. But let's, for now, have a look at where would you be? Would it be down here? Yes, it would be. It's not actually that large. That's quite nice, in fact. That's very, very nice. Okay, well, we could quite comfortably pop this somewhere down here, I imagine. Let's have this. Well, we've moved quite a lot of facilities over here, so we could quite comfortably have this one existing here. We would allow the steam in on that side, and then allow the fresh water out over on this side. That being said, I do want significantly more storage options over here. So yeah, I think 1, 2, maybe even 3. So maybe we'll actually shunt that one further along. I think that will be perfect. And with that, we will then add in a pipe section. Just connect this up. And from here, let's go ahead and actually pipe this in. We don't need it connecting here. In fact, we could go ahead and rise this one up and around. Realistically, we need to tear all of this down. Okay, well, first and foremost then, let's prioritize this the work as quickly as we can. Let's just tear down the old boiler in its entirety. Let's go, go, go. Quickly now, we need this done ASAP so we can get this one across. I could, for the time being, just pipe it around the corner, I suppose. It would... Well, no. Hopefully they should be able to pull these down fairly quickly. Now, our maximum at the moment will be 1.8 megawatts. That is including all of this, but I'm not sure if that is still including these because they are technically still a part of the system. Let's also get rid of you. And, you know what, with that gone, we'll probably find that this will work. Well, it'll sort of work. This is still actually off-gassing to it, so we'll probably move that smokestack, actually. Let's go ahead and place a smokestack. Well, yeah, there's no real reason not to just have that one piped straight in the side. So let's go ahead and do that. We've got quite a few improvements that we can make over here. If we remove this pipe, then the generator will run relatively well. However, this won't be doing any work for a little while, which is kind of a problem. Now, what do we need over here? We need a lot of concrete. We need quite a lot of construction parts. That part is a bit of a pain in the backside, I'm not going to lie. But we are seeing the turbines starting to run now, though how long this will work for, probably not that long. This does have a little bit more room to fill up, I believe, but we are going to run into problems if we can't prioritize this one. Let's prioritize that being torn down, then we'll place a new smokestack over there. Okay, that was an awful lot of building that I wasn't really planning on having to do that quickly, but there we go. Thermal desalination will really be a massive, massive help for us. At the moment, are any of these buildings requiring... No, they're not requiring advanced... level 2 construction parts. So, I think it's time for us to start loading our ship. Ready to repair the oil rig. It's done loading. Alright, let's go ahead and get that oil rig up and running. And then we're going to start seeing frequent deliveries. That is actually fantastic. Oh, one note regarding the coal. You may be wondering why we haven't actually gone that far down. Most episodes see us making significant progress in excavating coal. The coal is now 30%, has a 30% better yield than it used to. So that is wonderful news for all sorts of reasons that I'm sure you can already imagine. But that was a recent change that the devs implemented, so I'm very, very happy with that. Now, considering this setup, I would love to be able to chain these along. So what I'm thinking we're going to need to do is probably have the exhaust from here move up onto the 3rd level. So let's go from here and go up onto the 3rd level and move all the way down, as that is most likely going to be a level 2, and then all the way along so that more pipes can connect up to in the future. Right now we don't need to worry about it being a level a pipe 2. We can comfortably make use of a pipe 3 at the moment, but that won't always be the case. Let's move all the way down to the bottom and then around, and that will hook up. And as soon as that is available, this will run fantastically for us. Right, now I want to incoming port marked O at this point. We specifically want to take the water from the reclamation unit. And with that done, the final thing that we need to do to get all of this up and running is to place in the smokestack. And I'm going to place the smokestack right about... Well, we can have the smokestack come along the side there. We know we're not going to go any further down in this direction, so I guess I could actually put the smokestack over there. That won't be an issue for us, and we could then just hook up like so. And further buildings can move up, come down, and then join up there and move into the smokestack. Let's make these very high priority. I need those pipes built ASAP, please, because we currently have basically no power, which is not the best. Right, let's have a look at our oil rig. Yeah, there we go. We've got 2 shifts currently. This is a change that has been recently added. The unity you use is 0.5 per shift, and we're currently using 1 unity in its entirety to get peeps down here, but it also requires 12 workers, so let's drop that down so that we've got enough workers. This will produce 4 crude oil every 20 seconds, but with each shift you produce 4 more, so at maximum you're producing 12 crude oil every 20 seconds, but you are requiring 36 workers to do that and 1.5 unity on an ongoing basis. Still, that is very, very good, and we've still got some room to explore. We only encountered pirates, sadly, up to now, so that's nothing grand for us. We're actually making reasonable progress with getting that set up. But there we go. Our power needs are probably now met, or will very soon be met if we have a watch of this. Let's see as these start to properly spin up. Is this getting enough energy there? It's not really moving. There we go. Starting to see that spin up now, and that in turn will allow this to operate at full capacity. And there we go. Look at that wonderful power. Ah, truly marvelous. Let's allow this to keep going. The efficiency is rising on this. Let's have a look at there. These are going full bore. Well, this one is almost going full bore, as is this one. It's slowing every now and then, having a little bit of a hiccup here and there. But there we go. They're dumping quite a lot of power into this shaft here, because the two flywheels are going to absorb an awful lot, and as they go, more and more turbines are spinning up. That is wonderful. So that at this point, we're unlikely to be seeing the... Oh, there we go. We've got another fight. We're unlikely to be seeing the diesel generators running more or less at all, really. We've got one more place that we can explore, and that is that in that direction. But beyond that, we're going to have to start dealing with pirates. Oh, actually, no, never mind. Our ship decided to go the least efficient way, but it might have been the only way that it had the fuel to travel there. So we actually do still have a few more places that we can explore. But I'm super, super happy with having updated our power setup over here. That is, well, I mean, it's several times more powerful than we had previously. We're at 1.8 megawatt capacity now. Have you been out to gather anything yet? No. If we have a look over here, the oil rig will actually let us know once it is full. It's going to take quite a long time to get there, because this has a capacity now of 432. That's something else that has changed as well. Previously, the capacity for the oil rig was half this, 200 and... Well, actually, it wasn't quite half. I think it was like 280. But still... It has greatly expanded. I think we need more housing. Let's go ahead and get that on the go. And with that, I think we've got enough unity now for us to start getting a few more things on the go. Let's have a look over here. We should be fine with maintenance for the time being. Copper is backed up. We are not so much backed up with the iron ore, though, interestingly. We are starting to dig into the mountain. Well, that is a little bit of a problem, isn't it? Let's add an extra truck down here that will help out. On that note, how are we doing over here? Oh, we're starting on the second level. Marvelous. We've got a long way to go, though. Not going to lie. We've got an awfully long way to go. Have we got a truck that's going to be able to get that tree? I don't want to waste a tree. I know it's just a tree, but damn it, it's a living thing. Use all of the kill. We can't just willy-nilly abandon trees hither and yon. Wow, that actually went up really fast. How many? Oh, well. Well, now that is actually very nice to see. That is extremely nice to see. That's the first time in a long while that I've just asked them to build something, and they've been able to just tip the hat, yes, boss, and get on with it. That is marvelous. And there we go. We've got a good bit more room for extra workers as well. So let's get that going too. Right, the next thing then, I think, is going to be upgrading our research lab. Let's get 2 research labs on the go. We'll also repair our ship for now as well. We've got a lot of spare construction parts just sat by where we've torn down recent buildings. That's actually quite nice. I guess I could allow imports over here so that the shipyard could dump those items into circulation. At the very least, then this wouldn't keep emptying half of its production into the storage where we don't really need it to. Okay, well, let's allow that then for now. In fact, yeah, let's do that on all 3. We'll allow them to accept imports. That should get all of this out of there fairly quickly. That wouldn't make any difference for the rubber, sadly. So at this point, we're almost certainly seeing some of the flares firing to and burning off some of the excess materials there. Okay, everything else seems to be on the move. We've got 13 workers spare, which means... Oh, well, okay, never mind. We no longer have 13 workers spare. That is a lie. We have got 3 workers needed because the research lab just came online. Okay, well, you know what? We'll see if anyone wants to approach from the beacon. as well. But at this point, I'm very, very happy with what we've managed to do. The last part of the puzzle, of course, is we need another 26 construction parts to get the cooling tower. But the biggest part that I'm happy about here is the scalability of this system. As soon as that is finished, I can strip that away, and at that point, we can just have more boilers and more power systems set up here as necessary, really. Now, with that said and done, I think 'tis time for us to start upgrading down here. Again, I want to have a lot of storage for water. So what I'm thinking is, well, it's a bit of a bold move, and I appreciate that. But I'm thinking that we need to connect these pipes up here, just for the second. Oh, that isn't going to work, is it? Oh, that's a bit of annoyance. Okay, let me tell them to stop breaking this down. Can I cancel that? Is there any way for me to tell you not to break this down? No. Well, I should have thought about that earlier then. Okay, well, let's just add something in here. It is very temporary, I promise you. Purely there so that I can designate this pipe to be pulled down. The idea here is to connect these pipes up. Let's make another pipe junction over here. Just there. And again, purely so I can pull these two down, and then we'll take that one away. There we go. If we can get that work done quickly, then I should be able to start building out more storage in this direction. Again, we're going to add at least another 2, maybe even another 3 over here before we hook everything up. But I do need these to be built out first so that I can have the pipe balancer to allow me to give priority to the water that we're getting from our rainwater collectors. That being said, would that have fit? No, it wouldn't have fitted in there perfectly anyway. So I am free of a little bit of frustration with myself if we hadn't have needed to do that. Right, are these still running? Yes, we are still spinning up the flywheels at the moment. Oh, have these stopped? Yes, these have stopped due to efficiency, which meant that this was running for a very slightly longer bit of time. But at that point, these are now just spinning down. Now, you could make these much longer if you wanted to. You could have several generators working on it, or you could have separate generators that, like the second line, could do without the low-pressure turbine and instead dump its spare low-pressure gas into this low-pressure turbine. But honestly, I think as much as it uses more materials to build each one of these, and we're not getting the same bang for buck out of it, I do think that this is a much more interesting and certainly visually stimulating drive setup. But you could absolutely run this as an independent stack. So, for example, you could have a single stack with 2 turbines and only 4 generators, and then it off-gasses its low-pressure steam into a completely separate stack with a low-pressure turbine that just runs 2 generators and maybe 2 or 3 flywheels just by itself. And you could perhaps have 2 separate high-pressure columns feeding into that one low-pressure turbine column. Again, you would always want the low-pressure turbine to run all the time. It shouldn't auto-balance. If there is low-pressure gas steam available, it should work on that. Otherwise, you're going to backstuff the steam in the high-pressure turbines, and they're the real workhorses in this environment. Right, there we go. Let's quickly get all of this together because we're currently wasting water. Let's pop these down. There we go. I'm going to go for an excessive amount of storage because I feel that being able to store the water is very, very important. That being said, since I know I'm going to be going in that direction because I would like it to be a little bit cleaner in terms of storage space over here, let's pop this down right there. There we go. And then we should be able to just connect all of these together like so. And the same down here as well. All the way up and in there and straight across. There we go. Now these all need to be made rather urgently because, again, right now we're not actually using the water that we've got, which is rather bad of me. But once all of that's done, I can prioritize accepting only rainwater. This is fine for now. We don't actually need to urgently set this up, but with time I will expand this out and hopefully have at least another 2 extra storages down there, and that'll give us quite a bit of time between the rains. Now, I don't think that these rainwater collectors are going to be nearly efficient enough to fill this, but they'll certainly be able to give us a bit more of a buffer, especially with the groundwater pumps as well. Again, groundwater does replenish with the rains, so that is going to be quite useful for us in the long term. We'll be able to fill these up and then we'll just be waiting for a rain. But if we've got 5 to 7 or 8 tanks of water, that should at the very least keep our farms and energy running for a while. Still, they are both critical systems, so we do need to bear that in mind. But with that, we are slowly starting to make progress with regards to our pop. I don't think we're actually going to get very much out of this. So the next thing that we can do, and this is something that I've been meaning to cover for a little while, is we can go ahead and we can upgrade the infrastructure of this settlement. We can currently trade just straight away. If I pay the Unity and I have the materials available to work on it, then we will instantly get these materials in our shipyard. So they send their ship to us, which is rather nice of them. But what we're going to do is we're going to send across the construction materials so that we can start bringing pops over with Unity, just straight up spending the Unity to encourage the population of the settlement to send their pops over to us. Prioritize incoming product from Port O, please and indeed thank you. And let's see how this is filling up. Over here, we are starting to fill the second tank. Marvelous. Absolutely marvelous. Okay, now the other thing I could do is I could easily have the liquid moving this way as well. That would actually give us quite a lot of throughput. The only problem is, if I did that, realistically speaking, there is no way of me prioritizing input. Because there would always be extra output capacity. I could take the input from both lanes without there being any kind of backlogging. So my advice is, as convenient and nice as it is to see all of the connection points connected, don't do that if you actually intend to prioritize one lane. Not unless one lane is a high throughput pipe and the other one isn't. And the 2 outputs are low throughput pipes. If both of these were pipes 1, then this pipe 3 would saturate both pipes individually, and so that would actually work. But otherwise, it may not work out the way you imagine it to. Right, let's go ahead and deliver cargo over there, and that will allow us to start bringing in some new peeps. Let's go and check in on the oil rig. The oil rig is making its way. We do now have enough workers to get 2 shifts running, so this will now fill up twice as fast, and I would very much like to go all the way up to 3 shifts. Thermal desalination is on its way. That is going to be a flagship technology for us. It's going to be incredibly important to get that. Ooh, one thing that I hadn't really properly considered. Will we have too much overspill here? You'll notice that the materials do spill downwards. Loose materials, they don't have sharp edges. They will run down until they get to a point where the tension is enough to keep them at that incline. I'm not sure if this ramp will actually work the way I intended. We'll have to see what kind of slope this creates over here. But at any rate, we're going to be sciencing it. I hope it'll work the way we intend, but we might find that I actually need to make a ramp up over on this side. But now that we've got a little bit of extra life with our coal reserves, I'm not too concerned about that one for now. How are the generators running? The generators are doing perfectly well. Okay, I think we're in a very good position with our power production at this point, and we are now filling up the 3rd tank with water. That is absolutely wonderful. All right, I think things are in about as good of a place as they possibly can be. Let's go ahead and check in on the settlement. Okay, we're just getting that last little bit done. At this point then, I can probably send the ship back. And this will finish off on its own. There we go. With that then, I am going to say we're probably going to want to upgrade some more of the housing. I am growing increasingly concerned though about our food supplies. This is something I feel we're going to need to address sooner probably rather than later. So do we have enough room is the simple question for us to add another farm over here, or do I need to position the farms elsewhere? Let's find out. Can I slide that in? And survey says yes, but only just. Okay. Alright, I'm alright with that. I'm on board with it. Have we got more room over there than... Oh no. I left even more... You know it will irritate me way too much. So let's pop that in. It's annoying, I know. Trust me. Trust me, I'm more annoyed than you are. I have to live with me. You only have to watch me for a part of the day. Alright, let's pop this down. There we go. I will want these pipes upgraded at that point then. Let's go ahead and get that one upgraded to a pipe 2 as well. Okay, we've got a fair few production orders that are going to necessitate the use of construction parts 2. How is the production of construction parts 2 going? Probably okay. This is going to backlog fairly soon. And once that does, and we've got loads of materials there available to us, once it does, then the production will really start to speed up down here. Okay, that's not too bad. I am very eager to get the new technology, though, for manufacturing... for using the Tier 2 electric assembly. But... there we go. For 2.5 Unity, we can now just bring 10 pops over. Obviously, Unity's a little bit shy for us right now. So maybe it would actually benefit us to turn off this research lab for the time being. And we may even want to shut down at least one of the boosts over here. Possibly both of the boosts over here. Let's turn those down. Now, obviously, we are going to want to set this up. Let's go with... green manure. Green fertilizer, rather. There we go. Green manure, that's rather hairy. There we go. That should work out well for us. We could additionally conveyor belt all of the food straight down here. Or at the very least, have it collected somewhere. But that said, I think this may actually be a candidate... for the ramp. We build the ramp down here. I think this might work out. In fact, let's build 2 of them. One there, one here. There we go. I'm now going to add in a conveyor belt that should, ideally, resolve this for us. So let's bring that down and along. That'll still leave enough room for our trucks to get through that little area there, but I'm not sure if they're going to prioritize it because it is a bit of an annoying position to take. So let's bring it all the way down here, all the way through, and straight down and in. There we go. That'll be our first use of vehicle ramps to allow excavators to move through. Not that I intend to build many more excavators, at least in the near term. Right, thermal desalination is open to us. So the last thing that we're going to set up in this episode, though we are definitely not going to be getting to it, will be electric assembly 2. However, the thermal desalination will lead to glass making, where we can turn the salt that we're getting from the thermal desalinator. One of them is basically just air evaporation. The other one is a heated pool. So one will take power and it will do it in a fraction of the time, and the other one will just do it with time. But glass making will take the salt, will take sand, and will take acid. So we'll have a new use for acid to make a glass mix. We can then make molten glass in the blast furnace with a little bit of coal. We'll get slag, molten glass, and exhaust, and then we'll turn that molten glass into glass And finally, we'll be able to make some household goods for our peeps. And I am sure that will make them very, very happy. That will certainly give us another avenue to generate some Unity, which we're going to need, realistically speaking. Right, okay, so that's a fair bit of work for them to do down there. Let's go ahead and set up the electric assembly too. Start research. But with that, I think we're basically done for today's episode. Actually, let me have a quick look. How close are we to filling this up? We're relatively close, but we have no Unity to use. Sadly, once we actually get to 1 Unity, then we'll be able to start getting that out there. But yeah, we do need to cut back on some of the Unity. Let's take off Fuel Saver, probably the one that we least need right now, and definitely Growthos. Oh, okay, our tanker is on its way. It can only hold 360. Interesting. Okay, fantastic. So we have got a delivery on its way. Oh, I'm so glad about that. I was really hopeful that I would be able to showcase that in this episode, and as luck would have it, it seems we're going to get that wish fulfilled. But with the sight of our cargo ship returning laden with black gold, I'm afraid that's going to be the end of today's episode. Congratulations to the winners, and do remember that we will be having a stream this Sunday where we will be giving away 10 alpha keys. Do drop by if you have time. The stream announcement will go live on Sunday a little bit closer to the time, but considering it's going to be a bit of a longer stream, I will be starting a bit earlier than my usual start, more than likely. So we're probably going to be stretching across a couple of time zones for that stream, and I hope to see a lot of you there for that. But with that, and as always, do take care.